All right. So this is going to be another one that is another one of these talks that I've really been looking forward to for a while, because this is one of the issues that a lot of people are talking about, and that is, what do you put on your website that is different from what everyone else is doing, so that you can actually attract the clients you want to work with, and potentially even repel clients you don't want to work with, and make clients want to work with you even if you're charging more than other people. So so a lot of times, like, what I'll do is I'll review people's websites and try to get try to come up with some ideas and some concepts that might help people attract clients and so forth. And that's, so for example, if this is something that you're interested in doing, so if in this Facebook group here, this is one of the things we've been talking about. Especially when new members join in, they'll submit a link, and then we'll all talk about it. And this is one of the common trends that shows up on pretty much everybody's website. And it's certainly not a criticism across the board. I mean, what I'm about to recommend, it's not, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give ideas out that might help you be able to resonate with your clients more effectively. And of course, this is stuff that normal people, or like most people, aren't doing. And so this is the stuff that's going to set you apart from everybody else. And so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So one of the things that happens when I'm when I'm checking out websites, there seems to be a kind of a common formula that people are sort of, I guess, maybe even subconsciously using when it comes to putting content on their website. And the formula is, okay, let's go ahead and make a portfolio. So if you have a portfolio of work, or even if you don't, a lot of times people will take on low cost or maybe even free websites to start building a portfolio, and then they'll put a couple of screenshots of sites they built, and maybe even link over to some of these sites, and that will be like a big thing to put on the to put on your website. So a portfolio of work. And then, of course, another thing is testimonials. So if you have clients that you've worked with before that are happy, then you oftentimes people will try to get a quote or two or something like that from happy clients, and they'll put that on the website. And then everything else tends to be a description of the services that you offer. So for example, if you do, obviously a lot of us are all WordPress developers, so we'll say, we do web design. And then oftentimes, in addition to that, there's various forms of digital marketing, email marketing, SEO services, social media services, and whatever else there might be. That kind of gets into the website as well. And then now that you've got this giant, that probably takes up maybe even 80% of the website. And so what do you do after that? So you've got this big list of your services, and kind of sprinkled across the top, you have some testimonials, maybe a couple of examples of your work in a portfolio. So the thing that seems to be missing from that entire equation, though, is the biggest thing. So the biggest reason a client would be reading the website is actually missing from almost everyone's website. And that is this, what is it that you can do that actually matters to your client? And so what I'm trying to say is, if you're describing your services and you're getting into, especially if you dive deep into the technical details, but even if you don't, oftentimes, WordPress maintenance plans, WordPress hosting plans, plugin updates, search engine optimization, making a responsive website, your clients generally don't care about those things. And oftentimes they don't even know what those things even mean. And so if you fill your website with that kind of stuff, then it's probably going to actually repel clients, or turn their brain off, or whatever, or just make you blend into the background of everybody else, because that's what everybody puts on their website. Everybody talks about basically what I would consider to be a resume. And so one of the main points that I want to really underscore in today's talk is that there's this huge difference. There's a fundamental difference between an online resume and a business website for yourself. And the main difference between those two things is that a resume and your business website have two totally different intended audiences. So for example, if you're working on a resume, then you're going to submit the resume to recruiters or headhunters or whatever, and they're going to be looking for really specific technical skills. They want to know what you can do, and this whole job hunting thing. is all about like, what programming languages do you know? What skill sets do you have? What apps do you know how to use? Can you do different kinds of server management and all the different kinds of things that you can do? And so you kind of dive sort of deep into those details. And oftentimes a really good resume will have like a list of things that you can do that like different projects that you've worked on. Rather than just saying like what the project is, recruiters are going to want to see like, did you use PHP? Did you use MySQL? Did you use Ruby on Rails? Whatever it is, they want to know about the technical details. And that's great for a resume, but for your website, for clients, they don't think that way. They don't think about things like that. And instead, they tend to think about their business and what can you do to further their business. And it doesn't have anything to do with PHP or databases or how you manage servers or Linux or command line stuff or whatever it is that you do to run your business. The audience is different now. And like local business owners generally aren't all of that technical. And so if you write a technical website to a non-technical audience, then there's a disconnect there. And the content that you're creating isn't engaging people, and therefore the website is not actually attracting clients. Now they might still work with you instead, but they're working with you in spite of the website, not because of the website. So they're working with you because they got a referral from a friend that they trust, or they're working with you because you have a previous relationship, or they're whatever the reason is that they're working with you. It's not because they read the content on your website and said, oh yeah, that's who I want to work with. A lot of times they're working with you in spite of the fact that they went to your website and they don't have any idea what you're talking about there. So the audience is a big difference. So there's 3 questions that you ought to be asking yourself when you're creating the content for your website. And they're fairly simple questions, but they're fundamental to how you actually end up implementing the website. And the first one is, who are you speaking to? And this is kind of what we were talking about with regard to the resume kind of writing versus writing for your clients. And even deeper than that, though, okay, so we've pretty much cleared up the fact that your business website is not necessarily an online resume. I mean, if you're trying to do a freelance WordPress business, then there's a big difference between an online resume and your WordPress website that's trying to attract clients. So with that in mind, who are the clients that you're trying to attract? Now, do you work like specifically with a particular type of client, or do you have a wider spectrum of clients that you work with? So like, for example, like we work a lot with doctors, and in particular, not just any doctor, but functional medicine doctors. And that's like a different kind of doctor than just most people's local primary care physicians. And so, if we were going to build a website to try to attract doctors like that, then we would talk about the issues that they face. Or if you work with, any kind of thing, like whatever the genre of people or whatever the group of people that you work with is, you want to think about what are the cares and concerns that they have concerning their business, and what can you put on your website. So like when you dig into your toolbox of skills, what skills do you have that can help with the concerns that your particular audience is thinking about? So one of the keys to successful copywriting is putting the words on your website that are already in the minds of the people that are potentially viewing your website. So what that means is you're trying to speak to them in the language that they understand. So for a really kind of big example of this is, if you're building a website and you're using words like enterprise technical solutions, or these big long technical buzzwords, nobody is sitting around wondering, how can I get an enterprise solution to my business today? They're not thinking about that, and instead they're wondering, what am I going to do to, and then fill in the blank with whatever their business is. How am I going to get people to call me because they went to the website? How am I going to get people into my actual store? Like, how can I use my website to let people know that I'm doing something different than other people? Like, how can I get my message out? Like, all of these are different things that people are thinking, and nobody's thinking in terms of these crazy buzzwords that that maybe they sound good on a resume, but they don't really resonate with people in the real world. So that's the big question. So the first one is, so we're going to go through these 3 questions to ask yourself when you're putting together a website. And the first one is, who are you speaking to? And if you have a particular group of people that you tend to work with most, or that you're trying to attract, create your website to speak to them. Now, if you work with a wider variety of people, it might be a good idea to create a couple of different landing pages so that you can speak to each group individually, rather than trying to put everything all on your homepage, for example. And then, depending on how you drive traffic to your site, you can drive traffic to the landing page, rather to the different landing pages you set up, rather than to the homepage of your site. So the big point, though, is who are you speaking to? And the second one is what actually matters to them. So of course we've already touched on that a little bit, but the issue is, so if you've already addressed who it is that you're trying to attract, what are the issues that matter to them? So for example, do people want visitors to their website to actually place a phone call, or to sign up to an email list, or to buy a product off the website, or to learn about a new kind of product that might be different? Or a lot of the stuff that we've done with like dietitians and stuff, a lot of the initial information is what kind of what kind of foods and so forth cause you problems. And so like if you're dealing with gluten sensitivity, or blood sugar related issues, or weight loss, and oftentimes there's a variety of different kinds of things that people can address. So as you dive into one of these needs, what is it that what kind of questions can you put on your site, or what kind of answers, like FAQ kind of stuff, specifically for the clients that you're trying to attract? And again, this is the kind of stuff where it's like, if you're telling people things that immediately address their needs, that's a much bigger deal than you saying things like, we build custom WordPress themes, or we have nightly backups, or we take care of malware and WordPress hacks. Like people generally don't care about that. I mean, it's nice to know that you can do those sorts of things, but that's not the stuff that's going to initially resonate with people, because they're not looking for that as a solution. So it would be like if you went to buy like a bed or something, and then someone started talking to you about, oh man, this bed is fantastic. It's made out of only organic cotton and materials, and it's going to be fantastic. It's made out of only vegan stuff, whatever it might be. And of course, you're not going to eat the bed or anything like that. It's like, and maybe you don't even care about those sorts of things. What you really care about is you actually were in a car accident and your neck hurts, and your current bed is not supporting your neck properly, and you need to get something that's going to help with that problem. And instead, people are talking about all of the fine details about how the bed is made and where it came from, and how it's anti-chemical and all this other stuff. And so there's no real connection there, because you dive too deep into the details of what's going on without addressing what the person actually cares about. So that's the second thing. So the first thing was, who are you speaking to? The second thing is, what do those people actually care about? And then the third thing is, what can you give to your clients that they actually care about? So like, how can you dive into your toolbox of skills, and what is it that you can do, or what is it that you've already done in the past with previous clients that will that kind of draws out the solution to the questions and problems that people already have on their minds. And when you build a site like that, it makes a big difference, because people are going to be reading this and they're going to be saying, oh, this person can actually build a website that is for me. People are going to read the content on your site and be like, oh, they're talking to me. And if you're talking to a very wide variety of people at the same time, then nobody's going to think that you're talking to them. And so, it's like what everybody says: if you're talking to everybody, you're not talking to anybody. So that's so if you serve a wide variety of clients, then go ahead and do that thing with the landing pages, where you can actually take, okay, well, on this particular page, I'm going to talk to this particular client about these particular skills that I can offer that solve real problems for them. And then that's going to cause people to understand, oh, so you're the kind of person that I mean, you understand me, and that's going to be a huge difference. That's the thing that's going to really set you apart from everybody else, because literally everyone else just talks about their online resume. They talk about the types of things that they can do with regard to technology. And your clients generally aren't worried about the technology. They're worried about their business and their business concerns. And so the big shift is to shift from talking about what you can do to talking about how you can help with their problems. And presumably, if you have a niche that you're working with, you are already somewhat familiar with what the problems are in that group. And so when you talk about those things, it makes a really big difference. So now, one other thing that I wanted to jump into about all of this is, I think one of the reasons that people tend to put their online resume on their website and have that be the website is because a lot of times that's what you're seeing on, that's what other people are telling you to say. And to kind of underscore that point, like last week, I was reading on, I'm not going to call out any names or anything, but I was reading on a popular WordPress news website, an article about, how can clients find WordPress developers that they want to hire to work with. And so the idea really was, like, the audience obviously was not end clients. The audience was WordPress developers. It's on a WordPress developer news website. And so the idea here, I think, was that the author wanted to, lay all this stuff out so that the WordPress developers could read how clients might find them and then make sure that they're doing the things that, are being recommended in this article. So for example, the article suggested that clients get on Slack and Twitter and reach out to developers that they want to work with. And so on the surface, you say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That's what I would do. Like if I wanted to learn something about somebody or find out, who built this plugin or who's doing this theme or whatever, I'd look for their Slack channel or reach out to them on Twitter and ask them questions and connect with them. But the problem with that is that's not how clients work. I think in the past 2 years, I think I got like one client that found us by like searching Google. It's like that's generally, and that wasn't even Slack or Twitter. It's like most of our clients they don't even know what Slack is. Most of these local businesses, they have no idea what that stuff is. And so if you're expecting to, engage in a Slack community and, or spice up your Twitter profile or whatever that technical stuff is, I think that you're going to find that to be a disappointing venture because that's not where clients come from. And if you're putting a lot of effort into that to try to get clients, it's going to be a frustrating sort of a thing because clients don't do those. That's not the inbound channel for getting most clients, but from local businesses in your area. So now I guess if you serve like really technical clients or something like that, then maybe that would be a different situation. But most of the time, that's not where clients come from. And so there's a big difference between clients and developers. So if you want to engage with other developers, which is a very good idea, so that you're in a community, that's why I go to WordCamps and things like that, and you guys probably should too. That's a great way to get involved with Slack and Twitter and other social media platforms and reach out to other developers, and that's great. So do that, but don't be wasting a whole lot of time there thinking that you're going to be getting a lot of clients from those channels. And the clients that you do get from those channels are probably going to be referrals from other developers that maybe have too much work and they've got overflow work that they refer to you and things like that. But the article is saying that clients themselves should go into these technical channels and try to reach out to folks. And I don't think that's going to pan out for anybody. So I wanted to point that out. And then the second thing that the article suggested, the second like big thing was that and it was kind of a subtle assumption. And the subtle assumption was that that a client should know up front what their budget is and what kind of stuff they want to do on their website, so that when they are looking for potential WordPress developers, that they find developers that can do the things that they want to have done. And on the surface, again, that sounds like a great idea, but the problem with that is that's like the opposite of what we teach, because what that means is that's going to set you as the developer up for a rocky road, because you're not leading the project at that point. You're now being led by the client, and that's gonna be a big problem for a lot of reasons. And the same thing we talked about last week. It's like, why do you expect your clients to know more about the internet and what you can do online than you do when you are the internet? You're the one who works with the web. You're the one who builds websites and knows about social media and all the different kinds of things that can be done. And why would you expect the client to come in and tell you what to do, and then you just sit around being the bobblehead saying, yes, I can do all those things, when and it's because that's what everyone else is doing. And so like the reason that the article suggested that is because that's what everyone else is doing. And so when the client comes to you the assumption is that they're going to be the ones that they know what they want, they know what they want to pay, they know what features that they want on the site, and they know all the things, and they just need someone. The problem that they have is they just don't have the time or the skills to put what they want on the internet, and so that's where you come in to fill that gap. And what I'm suggesting is don't do it that way, and don't expect your clients to come to the table knowing all the things already. And instead, expect your clients to come and tell you what their concerns are and how they want to use the website to grow their business in some particular way. And it can be such a wide variety of ways too. Like if you're working with musicians or authors and writers, those people tend to go out to public places. And what they really want their website to do is draw a crowd for the events that they hold, whether it's a book signing or a concert or whatever it is. They want the website to draw people to events, which is a really different kind of a thing than if you're working with doctors and they want people to call them on the phone, which is a very different thing from if you have products on a website and you actually want to sell the products on the website. And that's a very different thing from if you sell like an online course. So there's so many different kinds of things that your client might want to have happen. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is when your clients call you up, try to dig into the details of what their business is, what their business does, and what they would like the outcome to be. And then you use your skills to figure out, well, okay, now that I know that what the outcome really is I'm working with a band, and the band has concerts and gigs and stuff, and they want to draw crowds to those concerts. So what can I do with a website so that the outcome will be more people at the concert, or that the outcome will be more people at the book signing, or the outcome will be more people on the phone, or the outcome will be more people buying products. Whatever it is, try to dive into what the client really wants for the outcome, and then how you can actually pull that off with the website. And so the focus of the conversation is not them telling you here, put this, and this on the website. The focus is, okay, here's what I want to do. And you get the goals established, and then you dive into your tools and figure out what you can do to make the website accomplish those goals. And that puts you in the driver's seat. That is so much better, because if you're leading the conversation, then what that means is you can charge higher rates than everybody else. Because in the other situation, when the client comes and says, here's what I want, they can then survey 5 or 10 different other developers and just pick the cheapest one, because all they care about is someone who can implement the stuff that they tell them to do. They're looking for like an employee. But they're not actually a project manager that knows anything about the internet. They're just your local business client. And so that's just like it's going to be a losing situation for everyone involved in the entire equation if that's the premise with which you start the relationship. And instead, it's the reason that we teach the opposite of that is so that you can actually bring more value to the table than just the manual labor of building the website. And instead, now you're bringing to the table some business development concepts. In fact, really, that's the primary thing that you're bringing to the table are the business development concepts. And then as agreement is reached on what kinds of things that you want to do, you also have the tools to pull it off. So that's the big difference right there. And so so kind of to wrap up the whole situation, if you're trying to write copy for your website, my encouragement to you is to put much more emphasis on the kinds of problems that you can solve for the types of clients that you're trying to reach, and focus on how you can actually be a contributing factor to the business development of the types of clients that you're trying to reach. And I think you'll find that none of the clients have on their list of things, on their business development checklist, things like managed hosting or plugin updates or WordPress maintenance or SEO optimization. None of those things are going to be on people's end list of things they actually want as outcomes for their business. And instead, those are going to be the stepping stones or the internal stuff that you do to make sure that their website, is an effective tool for them. But the actual outcomes is really what people care about. So when you're writing the content for your site, you want to think about those things. So the 3 things that you want to be thinking about are: who am I talking to? What matters to them? And what skills do you have so that you can actually achieve, beneficial outcomes for the stuff that really matters? And then that's going to set you apart. That's going to make your clients feel like you're talking specifically to them. It's going to set you apart from everyone else who's just talking about WordPress themes and plugins. And it's going to enable you to charge higher rates because you're offering like this custom solution that actually delivers outcomes to your clients, as opposed to just any old person who can put web pages on the internet. And that's going to be a really big thing. So those are the things that I really wanted to emphasize today with regard to writing copy for your website in a way that actually connects with your clients, makes them understand that you're not like everybody else, and that actually gives you justification for higher rates. Because instead of having all of the burden be on your client for architecting their entire website, when really all they do is make cakes for weddings or something like that, then that's going to be a huge thing. So instead of relying on your clients to actually come to the table with the blueprints, instead just have this conversation with your clients where you're digging into the issues that they have, and you're talking about what matters to them, and what skills do you have so that you can solve the problems that they have. So now, having said all of that stuff, the last thing I want to point out here is I know that this is a hard thing to do. I know that it's different from what everyone else is doing, and depending on who your clients are or what different groups of different clients that you work with, this might be the kind of thing that you want to do some one-on-one talking about. If you want to call me up, I have availability on my schedule and have made my calendar available so that you can pick times that work for you, and we can actually have a one-on-one call about this exact thing and dive down into who is your target audience. And once we establish who your target audience is, then we can talk about, well, what kind of rates can you charge for that audience? What kind of stuff can you talk about that resonates with that audience, so that you can actually either build your whole website around that stuff, or at least a landing page on your website about those things. And then on top of all of that, what can you do right now to start generating recurring revenue with your business, so that you don't have that whole spiky income problem? So that's one of the other things that we talk a lot about is, what can you do so that your income is more reliable? And if you only get paid when you launch websites, that is stressful, and there's anxiety there, because if you're not launching a website, if you don't have a client right now, your income's like zero, or maybe just a little bit of recurring revenue from like WordPress hosting or something. But there's tons of different things that you can do to do a lot better than that with regard to recurring revenue, and that's the kind of thing that really scales your business. So if you're in the business of just building websites for client after client after client, it's a really linear thing, because like every time you get a client, you get a paycheck, and then you just keep doing it over and over, but there's nothing really snowballing. But of course, when you build recurring revenue, then every time you add a new client, you bump yourself up with regard to the recurring revenue. And that's the kind of thing that gets bigger and bigger. And that's really what scaling your business is all about. And we can talk about that too. So we'll talk about your audience, we'll talk about your rates, we'll talk about recurring revenue. These are all kinds of things that we can discuss, and it's free. So if you want to talk to me about those types of things, head over to doublestack.net/call, and that's where you'll see the my schedule there. Pick a time that works for you, and we'll get on the phone one-on-one about 45 minutes, and we'll go over that stuff. And also, when you pick the time, right after that, you're gonna see a little form, and on the form there's a couple of questions that you can fill out real quick about who you are, what your business is. That way I can prepare ahead of time before the call, so that we can just really cram that call with lots of value for you and answer the kinds of questions like this, like what do you put on your website, who's your target audience, how do you talk to them, that kind of stuff. So so if that sounds good to you, go over and schedule a call. And on top of that, if you have any questions that you want to leave in the comments, go ahead and do that, and I'll keep an eye on the comments throughout the week. And so if you're working on your website, or you're redesigning your website, or launching your website for the first time, whatever, and you're working through the content and you want to talk about some stuff, then go ahead and put some questions there, and I'll keep an eye on that throughout the week. So there we go. I know there's a little bit longer than most of our calls, but I hope that it was valuable to you. And also, if you happen to be on the call right now, go ahead and put your name in the comments there, so I can see that you were here. I can see there's a bunch of people following the video, and but I can't tell who they are unless you actually comment. I can just see the number of folks that are there. So go ahead and put a comment in there, and if you decide to go ahead and schedule a call, that'll be awesome, and I look forward to talking to you. And then again on Thursday, we'll get together again and have another one of these Facebook Lives. So sorry I had to reshuffle the schedule a little bit today. Normally we do these on Tuesdays, and today's Monday. But But excellent. Great seeing you guys. And go ahead and head over to doublestack.net/call if you want to talk. And in the meantime, go ahead and leave a comment here on the form below. So great, guys. Talk to you again soon.